Peace and love, peace and love, peace and love to the Universal Supreme. Welcome to Numerologics and Teller BTV. This is Numbers Matter. This is podcast unit number 13, where we're going to be decoding Remy Ma and PAPOOSE's sudden split relationship. I guess it's not really that sudden. It's been going on for a couple of years now. But we're going to break it down. We're going to get into it. We're going to look at the numbers. And we're going to look at why during this time in their life, during the next cycle they're headed into, why it makes sense that they're breaking up. So without further ado, let me get the slides. I hope everyone out there is having a good evening. We haven't been live with you in a few episodes. We've been doing some pre-recorded episodes, but I did want to do a live, so I thought no better day than Friday Night Live. Getting live with the family on Venus night. So kings and queens up to the family out there. And if anyone's tuned in, make sure you chime in tonight. You can hit me up on the moon line. And if you want to do that, just let me know that you're going to do that in the comments first so I can get you queued up. All right. And here we go. Let's get these slides up so we can get ready. So remember, this is a dynamic duo, you guys. So dynamic duos is when we compare two people, two duos, iconic in history or whatever, two people who are in business together. So this is going to be interesting as we take a look at what's going on. There's a lot of drama going on, and I would expect nothing less from these two because Remy's and today's Remy's birthday. So let me say happy birthday to you, Remy Ma. Today's your birthday. And I would expect nothing less because she's a number 3 person and she's a Gemini. So she's a Gemini 3 and PAPOOSE is a Pisces 5. So these two frequencies are the two frequencies that, first of all, they're opposition numbers. The second of all, they have a lot of similar traits and everything. And that's really why they're opposition, because when they're good, they can be good. But when they're off, baby, they can be off. So we're going to get into it. Let me get the slides shared. Let me just break for 1 second because that will alter. All right. All right, family, here we go. So here we go. This is the Remy Ma and PAPOOSE dynamic duo breakdown. So this is really interesting, you guys. They've met back in 2004. So this is really interesting to get into with them. And we see on the slide, that's Remy with her new man, and that's Pap with his new woman. And those two are kind of like carbon copies of Remy and Pap, which is equally funny. And some other tidbits that we'll get into about that later on too. So let me see if I'm sharing this. Yep. So here we go, guys. This is the dynamic duo. So we're going to get started with the dynamic duo. So when we look at the dynamic duos, we look at the calling. We see, is this the person's calling? The duo's calling to be together or to have business together or whatever relationship capacity. And see, are their numbers harmonic or are they disharmonic? So we're going to be looking at their cycles. We're going to look at the formative, productive, and harvest cycle. We're going to look at their astronumeric description, their and. We're going to look at their life path. What are they here to learn? We're going to look at their individual frequency. That's their birth number. We know that's the main number that we look at in numerology. We're going to look at their name. That shows their task, their talent, ability, skills, and knowledge, and what they're here to teach. And then we're going to look at their pentacles. So I added a P on the end of the calling. So it's calling P. But I wanted to look at the pentacles because they're real interesting. And I think they have a lot to do with what's going on with their split. And that looks like environment and experiences and things like that. So we're going to get into it. All right. Here we go. All right. Peace and love, everyone that's tuning in live. I want to thank everybody that's here live. Welcome to Numerologics. Welcome to Teller BTV, wherever you may be watching this. Welcome all the new subscribers to the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing. This is the kind of stuff that you have to look forward to. You know, it's like culture meets consciousness. So this type of stuff we do. So it's going to be interesting to see. So first, like I said, we're going to look at their cycles. So when we look at their cycles, one thing I want to know about their numbers are opposition numbers, but their numbers are just really their birthdays are inverse of each other, right? So Remy, where she's 5'3", Papoose is 3'5". So they have the same personal year factor, which is a number 8. So they're always one cycle behind the universal cycle. Okay. And so this is interesting. So this tells me why they were attracted to each other. They have a lot of things in their numbers that would attract them early on in their life. And then as they progress through their life and through their cycles, they have a lot of numbers that start rubbing each other the wrong way when they show up in their chart. So let me get this, because looking at their productive cycle, their formative cycle. So for Remy, her formative cycle is a number 5. And we talked about number 5 formative cycles before. Those are when there's a lot of change to be expected, a lot of travel, maybe a lot of relocating, a lot of moving around. Normally around the 14th or 23rd birthday is when a significant thing might happen, or you're walking into some significant times around those times. And then for Papoose, his formative cycle is a 3. So this is interesting. They met in a formative cycle. So let me see. Let me get the slide when they met. They met, I think Remy was 21. They met in 2004. So Remy was 21 and Papoose was 26. So they were kind of, Remy was kind of, getting into the last leg of her formative cycle, and Papoose was kind of finishing his off. And in 2004, that's when they met. They were introduced by DJ K Slay. Shout out and rest in peace to DJ K Slay. And so 2004 was a 6 universal year. Now that's a good universal year for both of them, because that is a number that's a part of their personal universal code, which we didn't get to yet, but that's okay. So that makes sense that they met in that 6 universal year. It was also a 5 personal year for them, because like I said, their personal year factor 8, so they're always one cycle behind the universal cycle. So both of them were in a 5 personal year. So they were lovebirds. It was kind of like love at first sight. They had the music in common and everything like that. So they met in their formative cycle. This was during their first pinnacle. So this is interesting. Their first pinnacle was a number 8. So that denotes, a bit of romance. And they met in a 6 universal year. That is also romance. So it makes sense that they met there. Their personal year factor 8. This is them getting started in their formative cycle. So then they progress in their relationship, into their productive cycles together. Now you see their productive cycles flip. So now Remy is she's into a 3 productive cycle as we speak. And Papoose is in a 5 productive cycle as we speak. So they just really flipped the script. So what that really kind of tells me too, since Remy is a 3 and Papoose is a 5, they're more in tune. That's more of intensity of that frequency, that productive cycle, productivity. I was going to say, I'm thinking I'm at work saying productivity. The productive cycle is going to be more intense for both of them. So both of them are feeling more intense energy from their cycles now. And they're a little older now, so they're able to really be in tune with that more. So this is where we're at now with their relationship. And then let's get into when they get into their harvest cycles, which they're not into yet. They'll start their harvest cycle when they turn 56. Remy's going to be going into a 9 harvest cycle, and Papoose is going to be going into a 7 harvest cycle. Now, these harvest cycles are not compatible with each other. So if they didn't split up now, I would say maybe later down in the relationship, they may have. Because with Papoose, his harvest cycle, he's going to be wanting to kind of get away from the noise, get away from the stress, get away from the rat race of life. He might get into more of a spiritual time in his life. It might be more heightened during that last cycle. And he may become more withdrawn, more recluse. He's already not like a real big camera hog. So it makes sense that might happen with him in his last cycle. So that's interesting. And then for Remy, her harvest cycle would be a 9. And with that harvest cycle, that's kind of like out and about. It's global travel. It's dealing with celebrities, dealing with artists, dealing with universal concepts, brotherly love, different things like that. So those two cycles, they wouldn't have meshed well. So even though their first two cycles um, are similar because they're just the same numbers inverse, they're actually opposition to each other. So that's number one. But they found a way to make it work. And it could have been because Remy's formative cycle was the 5, and Papoose is a 5. So that could have been, what attracted her to him at during that time. So, and vice versa. So, that could have been why it was so good in the beginning. And then as we see them in a productive cycle, now it's starting to sour as their own frequencies start to intensify through this second productive cycle. All right. So let's get into the next slide. We got the cycles down. And guys, when we get to the end, let me take it down for a second. When we get to the end, we'll have a nice chart where we can see what's in harmony throughout the call-in and what's not in harmony throughout the call-in. So that should be interesting to see. All right, great. Let's get this back on stage. All right, let's get to the next one is the astronumeric descriptor. So like we just talked about, Remy is a Gemini 3. So she's an air sign with a fire number. That is an intellectual thinking, proactive, passionate doer. She's a doer. And she's very ambitious. Papoose is a Pisces 5. He's a water sign air number. He's sensitive, emotional, intuitive, intellectual, thinking mover. So they have the air in common. She's an air sign. He's an air number. They do have that in common, but that combination could denote overthinking and intensified of the air element. Also with the Pisces, with the water and the air, those are transmutable. So at any given time, Pap could be being all water, or which is all emotion and feeling, or he could be being all air, which is all intellectual overthinking in his head, wants the love, freedom loving, things like that, wants his own freedom. I'm not here to say who started cheating first and all that kind of stuff. I don't know that. I just know that both of them were cheating on each other, I feel like. So, who knows who was doing it first. But they've been together for a long time and we know how it is. So it's hard enough, but this is just how the numbers kind of affect things. So just looking at their energy together. So looking at this energy together, I would say also with Remy's fire, her fire could get annoyed with the water in Pap. It could really get annoyed with that sensitive emotional water because fire is proactive, passionate. Sometimes water can be stagnated and stuck in her feelings and stuck in her emotions. So that's some opposition again right there. So we're looking at the astronumeric descriptor. We see some opposition here a little. So let's get on to the next slide. I love the dynamic duos because they go by kind of quick, but they're very impactful with the amount of information they're giving us. So, okay, so we're in the middle of the calling, guys. We covered the cycles, we covered the astronumeric descriptor. Now we're at their life path. So we know the life path is, this is what you're here to learn and all that kind of stuff. So what's interesting is Remy Ma's life path is the number 8. And Papoose's name adds up to an 8. Wait, is it that? I think it was that. It was one of those. I'll make sure when we get to the end. I think I have it there. But so whatever it is, Remy Ma's attracted to Papoose. She's attracted to him. I think that's actually their cycle. But anyway, this is also an attraction cycle because the 6 and the 8 are both both earth numbers. So the 8 is finance and romance. The 6 is romance and finance. So, they have similar life paths in that way. They do have their own things that they have to look out for. So for as far as the life path, I'm not going to read through the whole thing. You guys can see it on the screen. But I think with the life path for both of them, it's favorable. It's not an unfavorable life path. And also they have that same personal year factor. So they're moving through their cycles at the same exact time. So, whenever Remy's in a 5 personal day, Pap's in a 5 personal day, they have the same exact life cycle, the up cycle. That's the personal year factor. So, do you guys know your personal year factor? And do you guys have your keys? If not, hit me up, guys, on numeralytics.biz. Okay. So you guys can get your keys chart, get your personal year factor up cycle, and get tuned into your individual frequency. But make sure you hit me up there. All right, so let's get on past the life path. Oops, I think I went the wrong way. Nope. All right, guys, this is the meat and potatoes of the individual frequency for them. So even though their numbers are opposition, it is still part of their individual frequency. And that just means they have a little opposition with themselves, maybe sometimes at times, and that's okay. But when we look at their numbers and when we look at what they have in common, really the only thing that's good in common with them is their six. So that would tell me that Friday would be their best day if they were ever going to do wedding or dates or whatever. It should be on a Friday. And Remy Ma with the three, that's self-expressive, creative, artistic, ambitious, positive, popular, confident, conscientious in their work, hardworking, cheerful, and optimistic. Now look at Pap's positive with the five. The five is clever, adaptable, versatile, energetic, literary, expressive, curious, daring, spontaneous, freedom-loving, quick-witted, crisis-oriented, and a traveler. So, and three's also kind of a traveler because threes are movers and shakers. They do like jet setting, and hobnobbing and all that kind of stuff, partying. These two energies are so similar, and that's why they're opposition, because when they're good, they can be good, but when they're bad, they're bad. And they're negative is the reason that gives them that opposition, because to the negative, both of them have a tendency to have over excess. For number five, it's more on the mental side. For number three, it's more on the emotional side. So number five will have over excess in mental capacity. So having like mental exhaustion, mental breakdowns, they're susceptible to that. And also overindulgence in anything that has to do with the nerves. So sex, drugs, drinking, eating. Fives also tend to have a lack of direction. They can be vulgar, excessive, irritable, careless, callous, self-indulgent. So, we see this battle that they're having is going to get nasty, you guys. Like the three and the five energy with this, the threes negative is the gossiping, scandal, so this is going to get interesting as we see this unfolding on social media. I do wish it was not unfolding on social media, especially for their daughter, because she's such a cute little girl. And everyone really loved Pop and Remy. They were like the black love, poster relationship for black love. So this is interesting to see the breakup and see how these numbers are affecting it. So again, to the negative, the three is overindulgent in emotional extremes: dictatorial, wasteful, vain, shallow, superficial, boastful, self-indulgent, jealous. So Remy is showing some of that jealousy coming through, I think, with their back and forth. So this is the kind of stuff that we see unfolding through the numbers. Extravagant, and threes can be show offs. They can be all talk and no show. So that can be some of their traits to the negative. All right, let's get through here. And if you guys want a mini reading, you can drop your birthday in the chat. You can just drop the date, the month and day. You don't have to drop the year. I won't do a life path. I'll just do your individual frequency, give you your keys real quick, and what personal year you're in. So if you want to do that, that's fine. So here we go, guys. We're almost through the call-in. We're at the name. This is almost through at the end. So when we look at the name, this is what was the attraction. It was the name. So Remy Ma's name, and I didn't do their real names. I just did the names that their stage names. So we're really just going to be looking at the Chaldean breakdown of the name. So for Remy Ma, her name in Chaldean is a 17-8, and Papoose is a 39-3. So those two frequencies, actually for the 8, the only number that it gets along with is the 3 and the 6. So they have some good harmony with their names. Their names attract each other. Papoose's name attract Remy in her first cycle when she met him, when she was in that first cycle. So this is interesting to see. Lower right. So the name, let's get through to the pentacles, because this is my favorite part right here. So guys, look at this, how interesting this is. All through their first few pentacles, they have the same number. Okay. Their first pentacle is a number 8, which makes sense. They met in that first pentacle in that age bracket. 8 is, known for some romance. So that makes sense that they met in that year. And then in their second pentacle, it was a 3. So they were following the same life cycle. They were following the same pinnacles throughout the beginnings of the relationship when they were really happy, really successful, doing well, expanding, and all that kind of stuff. And then when so now, right now, they're in this 11-2 pinnacle, which the 11, it can be something else. It can denote treachery. It can denote deceitfulness in that way, and treachery from others, hidden agendas. So that could be a part of what's going on in the breakdown of the relationship. And then as we get into the last pinnacle, which I believe Remy's turning, I think she turned 45 today. Today's her birthday. So she's about to enter into her last pinnacle. And I think Papoose is in his last pinnacle. So let me see. Papoose, 1978. Let me see how old he is. I think he is 47, if I'm not mistaken, or he turned 47. Let me just make sure I got it right. All right. Yep. So Papoose is in his last pinnacle, the 3. And Remy is about to head into it. Okay. So, like I said, just like the harvest cycle, which they're not near the harvest cycle yet, but they are at this last pinnacle right now. And these numbers are denoting, look, they're crossed out again. They just keep crisscrossing with each other. So this tells me that there's opposition, because these two numbers are opposition. It explains all of the back and forth in social media. It explains all that. And then let's get a little bit through these years, through these pinnacle cycles. So I'm going to leave the pinnacle cycle up, and I'm going to talk about a little bit what they went through. So we already went through when they met. So in 2008, that's when Remy was sentenced. That was a 1 universal year. It was a 9 personal year for both of them. And Remy was sentenced to, she was sentenced to 8 years in prison, but she only did 6, which those, again, 8 is her life path. 6 is one of her key numbers. So we see this following her also through her cycle. While in 2008, they got married in that year. Now, I would have advised them not to do that. This makes sense why the marriage is breaking up. They got married in a year. It was a 1 universal year, yes. But for both of their personal energy, it was a 9 year. So, I mean, it can denote transformation, but it also denotes endings. And you normally don't start something in an ending year. So I would have highly, advised against getting married in a 9 personal year. Just my suggestion, So she served her 6 years, and then Papoose stayed by her side. And I think that's a lot of the problem people are having with the breakup, because a lot of people were looking at Remy like she's disrespectful, and she betrayed Papoose because he hung in there with her all those years and all that kind of stuff. So and then let's get along. So then after her release, she got released in 2014, okay, which was a 7 universal year. That was a 6 personal year for the couple. She got released. They were like the hottest power couple during this time. That landed them their spot on the VH1 series, Love and Hip Hop New York. And it was, it was divine timing for them. It showcased their family and all that kind of stuff. They got another show out of that, I think. And then in 2016, they renewed their vows. Now, 2016 was the last 9 universal year cycle that we had, guys. Remember, we're in 2025. This is a current 9 universal year. This makes sense that they're breaking up this year. They got married in the 9 universal year. They got married in the 9 personal year. They renewed their vows in the 9 universal year. And now they're getting a divorce. They're filing for divorce in the 9 universal year. Do not get married in the 9 universal year, family. Okay. If you want your marriage to last, don't get married in the 9 universal year. That's all I'm going to tell you right now. So anyway, in 2018, after they renewed their vows, 2 years later, they had the baby. And that's interesting because that was an 11 universal year, which was a 2 universal year, which is their 3rd pinnacle. So I thought that was cute that they had the baby in the 3rd pinnacle cycle. Um, and during an 11 universal year, and that was their pinnacle year. And that baby's so cute, and that baby's, they call the baby the golden child of hip hop. Um, and I hope that can continue. And I hope, that they do well and do well co-parenting for the baby, because at the end of the day, we know family matters, especially Black families matter. So even if you can't stay together, at least be able to co-parent for the child. All right. So, and then, so that was 2018. So now let's get to this meat and potatoes. In 2022, this is when the rumor started that Remy Ma was dating the battle rapper Easy the Block Captain. Okay. Now, family, let's get up on the screen so I could talk to you about 2022. Okay. 2022 was a sixth universal year. So I keep telling you guys, in a sixth universal year, wars can happen if adjustments aren't made, if the proper balance isn't dealt with home, family, community. Wars can pop off, breakups can pop off. Six is a relationship cycle, so it could be makeups or breakups. It's not just romance. It's romance in the sense that you could be starting a romance or you could be ending a romance in the sixth cycle. So this is interesting that this was the time that the rumor started, and this is also the time that Remy cites that the last time that she slept with PAPOOSE was in 2022. Now 2022 was like I said, it's a sixth universal year, but it was a 5 personal year for both of the lovebirds, because remember, they're in the same cycle. So what does the 5 personal year denote? We just talked about the 6. The 5 denotes changes, dramatic changes, risk, dealing with the public, dealing with people, multifaceted situations, opportunities, dealing with new people, popularity, new situations. So this is what we're looking at with this energy here, you guys. So this makes sense. The numbers are really showing, where things went wrong and how the breakup is going. And, again, like I said, you can't be getting married in a 9 universal year or 9 personal year. That's not the year to be doing that. If there's other better years that you can do that. And, you consult someone like me to figure that out before you just go running and start and picking a date like that. Because I'm telling you, things that you begin in the 9 year, they're going to end. That's the energy. So the energy doesn't lie. We know that. All right, so let's get back here. Actually, I'll leave that down. Let's get back into the rest of what's going on with them. So that was 2022. So the reports claim, that Remy was seeing the battle rapper Easy the Block Captain, and then they actually had a rap battle, and PAPOOSE, he knocked out Easy the Block Captain at the rap battle. He said you was getting too cozy and close with my wife, and he didn't like that, and he knocked him out at this rap battle. I think that was in 2024 when that happened. Wait, reports claim. Okay. I think that was in 2024 when that happened. No, that was in 2022. So that's when it all started, I think. So someone in the audience, correct me if I'm wrong. Killer Fifth, I see you out there. When did PAPOOSE knock out Easy the Block Captain? Was it in 2022? Because if that was in 2022, that's amazing. If that was in 2022, you know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, telling you, if you don't make them adjustments in that 6 year, and that's dealing with home and family, they were married. Excuse me. So if you don't make those adjustments, war is going to pop off, and you see war popped off. Peace and love to you, Dom. Thank you for subscribing. Peace to you. Kings up. Thank you so much, everybody that's in the audience. Peace to you, GL. We're going to get to the birthdays later. I just wanted to check in with the audience real quick. I hope you guys are enjoying this. But yeah, so yeah, in 2022, it popped off. Like I said, wars pop off in 2022 in six universal years. So, this is interesting to see, this is how it unfolded for them. So let's get through this. So now we're up to 2024, which was last year. That was an 8 universal year. And that means they were in the 7 personal year, which 7 personal years are very introspective, sabbaticals, recluse, reflect, perfect, observe, don't absorb, energy, inward manifestations, positive thoughts, keeping yourself healthy mentally. Um, so that's says a lot that they were going through all this in 2024. That's when more rumors were coming out, and that's when Remy called out Papoose for dating the boxer Clarissa Shields in 2024. And she said he was also dating other various women too. So from then, things started to get a little messier, and Remy started like sharing all these different things on the internet. And then she started saying that Pat had filed for divorce several times. So, I mean, when you can't stand no more, you can't stand no more. And they really broke up in the sixth universal year because 2022 is the last time that they were together. And that's when you started seeing Remy with the Easy to Block Captain dude. And that's when everything started popping off in that sixth universal year. So that's really interesting to see. And that's funny because if we go back to this slide, look, 6 is the only number, that they're supposed to have in common. That's good. But look how that happened in the sixth universal year. So this is the interesting energy that we see unfolding with them. And then in January of this year, Remy professes that she's with Easy to Block Captain, because I guess before that she was never like acknowledging that she was with him. But now she's acknowledging that she's with him in this year. So, and then we see all of the messy stuff that's going on. Oops, I meant to have this on stage. That the 6 was the only thing that they had in common. Oh, you said they fought in 2023, Terrence. So, okay, so the rumor started in 2022, the 6. They fought in 2023. 2023 was a 7 universal year, which was a 6 personal year for them. So it's still the 6 energy. You see that? Still 6 personal energy for both of them because they're a cycle behind. So, like I said, the energy don't lie. And that's even more interesting that it popped off in the 7 universal year. Even more interesting. So this is what we're dealing with, you guys. Let me see, do I have anything else? Because I think that's really it. I'm not going to go into their beef, that they're having, on the actual, on the thing. I'm not going to go into that beef. But that's that. This was a dynamic duo. So let me know what you guys' thoughts are. What do you guys think about this dynamic duo? So we got through everything. Let's get to the last slide so we can present. Let me come off the screen. So here we go. Let me take this down. Hold on. Let me take this down. All right. So here's the call-in. Here is the wrap-up of the dynamic duo. So when we look at the call-in, the first thing we looked at were the cycles. I am giving these cycles a disharmony. These cycles are in disharmony. The 5 with the 3 in the formative cycle, the 3 with the 5 in the productive cycle. Both of those energies are their own respective individual frequencies, which I'm sure caused more disruption within that second cycle because it intensified as they took on their own energy. Then the last cycle, the 9 and the 7 are totally in disharmony. So if they did not break up now, they probably would be breaking up around like in 53, 54 years old, going into 56. There might be problems because, they would just be going in 2 different directions at that point. All right, the astronumeric descriptor. I'm giving this a neutral. I'm giving it a neutral on the border to disharmony, because all this energy can be balanced. It can be, some of it can be transmuted, but it's neutral to disharmony because, like I said, that fire in Remy, and we see that fire in Remy Ma. We know Remy got that fire in her. She, that fire in her, I'm sure it irritates. That water in Papoose, I'm sure irritates Remy's soul at times. So, and then I'm sure Pap may be overthinking and Remy may be overthinking at times. Those two can be clashing at times. So I'm giving that a neutral to disharmony. Yeah. On to the life path, the 8 and the 6. I'll give this a harmony. They're both earth numbers. They're the finance and romance and finance cycles respectively. So I'll give them a harmony there. And also, some of that energy attracted each other to the name. So that's the other part there. Individual frequency. complete disharmony. The 3 and the 5 were complete disharmony. So that's, we talked about that. They have all of the their positives and their negatives are so similar. And then when they're negatives, if they're both having a bad day, and think about it, guys, these two were going through the same cycle with each other. So when they were out together, right? When they're on the out cycle, they're out together. Imagine those fights. Imagine that. Like behind the scenes. We're just seeing a little bit of it spill over in social media. Imagine the behind the scenes stuff that this 3 and 5 were going at, because they're both very talkative numbers, both very popular, both very, vain in their own way. Kind of want the spotlight. Who's the most popular? Who's the best? And you see that now with Pap saying that he wrote her rhymes and all this kind of stuff. So we see all this stuff unfolding. The gossip, the scandal, that's the negative to the 3. We see all of it unfolding in the risk and all that with the public, and that's the negative to the 5. We see all that unfolding in the numbers. So that's in complete disharmony. So then when we look at the name, we're only going to look at the name in Chaldean. And I'm going to say that right because I know it's Chaldean. So I'm going to start getting that right. I just got a habit of saying it that way. We're only really going to look at the Chaldean number because we didn't do their whole birth name. So I gave that a harmony because the 8 and 3, they tend to get along. So I gave that a harmony, and also some of that energy attracts one another. So that's the other reason. And the Pentacles, I'm giving this a disharmony because of their last cycle. I had this other star here because I was going to give them, oops, I guess I'm not on the one that I can edit. I'm sorry, guys. Let me go back. I was going to put this other green star here in the middle right here because their first 3 pentacles were the same, but that could also be bad because it's just such intensified energy with these two. A lot of intensity, a lot of intensified elements and tides and different things like that. So I can see that this was a tumultuous relationship. From the outside, we see one thing, but from behind the scenes, it's usually a different story. So as far as the pentacles, I'm giving it a complete disharmony. Okay. And that is the calling. And these two, to me, were destined to break up. When you look at these numbers, when you look at the cycles they were entering and the energies that they were embarking on, there's no way that it could have lasted. Not saying there's no way, because there's always a way, right? When there's a will, there's a way. When there's a will. I don't know why I'm not on the stage. Here we go. So, like I said, where there's a will, there's a way. But overall, they had out of everything, they had 3 disharmonies, 2 harmonies, and 1 neutral. So I think that that's not a good omen. And especially that getting married in that 9 year, definitely not good. You cannot get married in a 9 universal year. You cannot renew vows in a 9 personal year. That's just not the way it works. So, what do you guys have to say? Let me see what's going on in the audience. Killer Fifth said facts. Peace to you, King. Kings up and queens up. Salute to y'all for checking in on the live. I want to thank everybody for being here on the live. Remy, let's see what he said. According to Pap, East was holding her hostage because he had photos and videos of Rent, and he would release them if she tried to leave him. Crazy, right? Who was holding who hostage? I'm confused. I'm almost about to make you call into the moon line. Do you want to call in? Hold on. Don't do it yet. Killer Fifth, I'm going to have you call in. Can you call in, bro? Are you able to? Let me know in the comments. You can call in? Okay, you got the number. Call in. And then let me see. I'm waiting for you to call in. Hold on. Because I got to be real technical about the way I'm about to do this, so we don't have no mistakes. Okay, let me Open this in a new tab. I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank all the new subscribers. Thank you. Peace and love to you, kings and queens. Up means we understand our power, position, and our purpose. And if you don't know your purpose, your power, or your position, and I want you to hit me up on numerologics.biz to get a keys chart, or you can text me on the moon line. You don't have to do it on there. Hold on, Killer Fifth. Let me get it queued up, bro. I don't do too much celebrity gossip, but I really did like these two together. Beautiful and strong black. That piece. Yep. Facts. I don't normally do it either, but we're going to be doing those kind of things on this show. Um, so we can show people why numbers matter. So we don't get into the drama part of it. We just get into there's drama, and we're going to look at the numbers to see what they say. Killer Fifth, hold on. Let me answer. Okay, bro, can you hear me? Hello? Hold on, guys. I think he hung up. Call back, bro. And then I'm going to get this screen shared. Okay, guys. All right. GL maybe, but I don't think so because they got together in 2004. So maybe they stayed together for the show. But they definitely were together before the show because the show didn't pop off till 2014. And then they got together in 2004. So they got together 10 years before the show. And then she went and she was in jail for 6 of those years. She went to jail for the 6 years, and he stayed by her side and all that kind of stuff. Okay, here we go. I think we got live action.
From
Born King.
To accept, press 1.
Can you hear me, bro?
Peace, Queen. What's going on?
Peace. Give me 1 second. Hold on. Can you guys in the audience, somebody in the audience, tell me, can you hear us talking? Born King, go ahead and say something else so the audience can see if they can hear you. I think they can.
Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings, everybody. Kings up, queens up. What's good, y'all?
He's doing I love the mic check. That was an awesome mic check. Can you guys hear him in the audience? Let's confirm that they can hear us first before we go in, okay?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Oh, good. Terrence said he can hear us both. Okay. All right. So go ahead, bro. Tell me what because I didn't understand what you're talking about.
Stuff she was saying about him, and he had phone calls and text messages, right? And he had an actual recording of her telling him it's his fault why she couldn't leave easy because since he's not easy out, right? She had to still act like she wanted to be with him because he had photos of her and videos. And if she decided to leave him before he was ready for her to leave, he was going to release everything.
So who was because I missed, I think it cut off. So you're saying Easy did that to Remy?
Remy, yep. Easy was
but she's
basically,
So I don't know if I believe that because why would she still be with him right now at this point?
Well, that's what she said. I heard it in her own voice from Pat. Not unless it's AI. You can't trust things these days, but
Yeah. Well, you know what I think too? I think probably that was a ploy at the time for her to make excuses for her cheating, because just to try to be like, oh, I'm really not with him no more. Try to lie to patch it up to say we're not really together. What do you think about that?
Well, he said they wasn't together in 2022. They were still in the same house, but he wanted to stick it out for the children and everything, right? but she was already dealing with male and female and things of that nature. So he was there, but he couldn't take it no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, all right, well, wish you good. You know what I'm saying? He said she ain't start tripping until he got with who he's with now.
Right. And that makes sense
Yep.
because one of the negatives to the three is jealousy, and revenge,
Mm,
dictatorial. So, and being vain. So she probably didn't, it was probably all good while she was doing what she was doing, but it ain't so fun.
right.
Rabbit got the gun. And then when Pat got with somebody new, now she wanted to
Exactly.
blow the spot up.
Exactly. Exactly. And see that's the thing that really cause gets me about it because they was a reflection, right? And I'm seeing the black love going on and everything. This man literally held her down while she was incarcerated, right?
Right.
So technically, he went on face on that one because, even though he wrote for her and did certain things or whatever, but you ain't really get a chance to like be with her. So when she got out and came home, you get to see a whole lot of things in the new person that's formed because she's been incarcerated. You know what I mean? So it's like, wow, that's a crazy situation. Because I remember watching them one time. Me and my Earth, we was watching them doing the black love thing, and she was saying like she got snacks on her side of the bed, you know what I'm saying, or whatever, and Pat, you know what I'm saying, might take some of her snacks, but when she was incarcerated, you don't do things like that, you know what I mean? So, they would say little things like that, little funny things or whatever. I thought everything was straight or whatever, but we see where they at now, you know what I'm saying? So that's just crazy.
Right. Well, that's dope. I mean,
Yeah.
I tend to agree with that. I hope, for the baby's sake they could get it together because, now they're Pap saying that, she's keeping the baby from him, and different things
Yeah.
like that. So I hope that they could get it together. And then, they both grown. Y'all both grown. You both moved on. Move on. Don't be messy. See, this is that
Right.
3 and 5 energy. And that's not to come
Right.
down on the 3 and 5, but this is the negative side to their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
This is to show you why
Right.
numbers matter when you're living
Right.
on the negative side and you're dealing with these things. This is how you can react to things, and you got to watch that because this is a big huge scandal that she's causing for herself right now. And not for
Yeah.
nothing, they're in the 8 personal year. So is it
Mhm.
that you want to leave for yourself?
Wow. See, and that's another thing. That's the God right there. You know what I'm saying? And to the charts and everything that you're doing, if everybody can hear me right now, the importance, y'all see the importance. We are mathematical people. Mathematics is our language. So if we tap into the universe and are able to use these charts, it's like a cheat sheet for life, to be totally honest with y'all. This is how we used to live and this is how we should be living. So we wouldn't be going through certain things. I'm not saying everything gonna be positive because you can't have just positive. It got to be a balance, 180 of negativity and 180 of positivity. But these sheets, these charts, man, we need these charts. We can avoid a lot with these charts. And the peace to you, Queen, because I gotta get you to do my charts. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, absolutely. You already know we're going to get that done. And I want to thank you
Mm-hmm.
so much for calling in. Thank you for calling in.
No problem.
It's the first calling that I had in a while, and I knew I could count on my brother King Born
Yeah.
Fifth to call in. Thank you so much. Peace to you, my Gemini brother. Happy Gemini season.
Peace. Oh yeah, thank you
Yeah,
very
your
much. We
born
in the
day's coming
studio
up,
right
right?
now. Yeah, June the 8th. My matter of fact, my anniversary just was last Wednesday with my Earth. We 27
Oh,
years in.
nice. Happy anniversary.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, thank you,
Yeah, and
thank you.
happy
Yep.
birthday. And you've gotten your reading on here before, but
Yeah.
since you're on here, I'll give it
Mm-hmm.
to you. You're a Gemini 8 person. You're so that
Right.
makes your key numbers the 8, 6, and 5. You are a air
Mm-hmm.
sign with the Earth number. That makes you,
Yes.
like I said, intellectual thinking. Steadfast, pragmatist, very focused, business minded,
Yes.
very good communicator.
Yes, I try to be,
Yeah, you try to be, your key numbers, like I said, are the 8, 6, and 5, and your key days
Yeah.
are always a Saturday, Friday, and Wednesday in that order. So I want to thank you so much for tuning in,
Peace, peace.
and calling in.
Yeah.
So, all right, peace, bro.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right, peace.
All right.
Peace, Queen. Appreciate you
Uh-huh.
too. Peace, everybody.
All right. So, yay! I'm so excited. I did a call in. So let me look in here for birthdays. So GL GL caught alive in there, a 922. So they're a Virgo 4. You're a master builder number 22. So you are here to build things that stand the test of time. You're a master builder. Your number 4 individual frequency. Your key numbers are going to be the 4, 1, and 5, also the 22. That means your key days are always going to be Sunday and Wednesday. 922. Let me see what personal year you are in. You are a personal year factor 4, so you're in a 4 personal year. So in a 4 personal year, it's kind of like last year you were expanding, having a little fun. This year it's time to hanker down. It's time to do work. Whatever you're working on, put the hard work into it. Get organized, get yourself a schedule, be meticulous, dot your I's, cross your T's, and make sure that everything is in order, and put the hard work in this year. So next year, when you head into your 5 personal year, you can have some, room to have fun, because that's what the 5 personal year is for. Dramatic changes, travel, parties, popularity, having fun. So for you, like I said, your key days are the Sunday and Wednesday. So I hope you enjoyed that reading. Let me see if there's anybody else that wants to give their birthday real quick. All right. I don't see any other birthdays over here, but I do see some comments. So I'll check in real quick with the Universal Supreme, and then we'll get ready to get out of here. So I want to say peace and love out there to you, Queen D. I know your birthday's coming up. You are June 20th. Don't think I forgot your birthday. You were number 2 like me. You think I'm going to forget your birthday? I'm not going to forget your birthday, Queen. So I want to say salute to all the Geminis. It is Gemini season. So, you guys were moving and shaking. Salute to my brother Don P. His birthday was just the other day. My brother's birthday was on the 27th. So, I got a lot of Geminis around me. I love my Geminis. So Queen D, for you, I'll give you your reading. Your key numbers are the 2, 7, and 5, Queen D. You are in the 8. You're in the 8 personal year. So you should be reaping the benefits of whatever work you've been putting in cycle 1 through 7. You should also be taking a little risk with your business, maybe getting some achievement with your career this cycle. Your key days are always going to be on a Monday and a Wednesday. And again, you are an air sign with a water number. So you're intellectual thinking, intuitive, sensitive, detail-oriented analyzer. So there you go, Queen D. See, you didn't think I would forget your birthday. Yeah. And then Terrence, I just gave you your keys earlier, but let's do it again because we're on here. So Terrence is also a Gemini in the honor of Gemini. You know what? Y'all Geminis are showing out tonight. It's Gemini season and y'all are showing out tonight. So Terrence is a Gemini 9. Okay, so his key numbers are going to be the 9, 5, and 6. His key days are going to be Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday in that order. He is a air sign with a fire number, one of the most favorable combinations that you can be, by the way. Very combustible energy, very creative energy, energy that allows you to flow. Those elements work very lovely together. So with that air sign fire number, you're intellectual thinking, proactive, passionate doer. And I do know you to be that. Again, that 8 personal year, you are in, nope, hold on, let me see, where are you? You are in the 6 personal year. So again, with your 6 personal year, Terrence, you should be looking at home, family, your community, making sure that you are meeting your duties, your responsibilities with your home, balancing things in your relationship, making adjustments. You might be, I know you are a health professional, so you might be taking a course this year, a continuing education. This is a year for that, or doing some home improvements, or changing your own image, cutting your hair, or doing something different. And that's what that energy denotes. Next year, Terrence, you will also be going into another out cycle. It's going to be a spiritual cycle. You're a spiritual person. So I think you'll do okay. I want you to remember to reflect and perfect next year, to observe, don't absorb, and to manifest all your desires next year. Keep your thoughts positive. If you can, travel near sea, sand, or over land, and near water. So that's your reading. Okay, so that's it. You guys were at about at our hour. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Before I get out of here, I want you guys to make sure that you tune in. We have a lot in store. So let me show you what we have coming up. First of all, let me explain to you all of our shows. We got Justice on Earth, Cultural Reflections, our Hip Hop Hour, and of course, Numbers Matter. And we have our Numeralytic Energy Observation, which will be dropping on June 1st, which will give you the universal personal upcycle for June. And we'll also be looking at all of the energy surrounding June, the next upcoming month. Okay. So make sure you tune in and you subscribe to Taylor BTV if you're not already. Make sure you subscribe to Numeralytics and hit that bell notification so you don't miss a thing that I have coming up. Our next Number Matters podcast episode is going to be podcast number 14 with the brilliant business astronumerologist Kimberly. So we're going to be airing that on Wednesday the 4th at 4 p.m. So make sure you guys tune in for that insightful episode. If you have a business, if you own a business, if you're thinking about starting a business, you definitely need to tune into this episode, and you definitely need to hit up the Queen Kimberly, because she is going to break it all down for you. And trust me, you do not, this is paramount for anybody that's in business. It's paramount for you to have. So I want to thank the Universal Supreme. I really love the Friday night lives. Obviously, we're building up. So I'm going to be doing a lot of pre-recorded, but I just love the energy of the live. I love having you guys on and interacting with you and getting your input back and having the call in and all that. That was so exciting. So I want to thank you all for hanging in there with the Queen tonight. And leave it in the comments after the video's over. Leave on the regular comments, not within the live chat. Leave on the regular comments what your thoughts are about the call-in, what your thoughts are about Remy Ma and Papoose's call-in. Let's just give the one last share of what we went over to show their energy. Okay, this was it. 3 disharmonies, 2 harmonies, and 1 neutral to disharmonic. All these cycles intertwining, opposition, pinnacles opposing each other, frequencies opposing each other, living on the same cycle, too much intense energy. So a lot of things going on with this relationship. And this is why we do what we do around here. So again, I want to thank all of you guys for tuning in. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you like. Please share the video. Please, please, please share the video. I want to thank you. I love you, Universal Supreme. Make sure you tune in for the next Numbers Matter episode coming up this Wednesday. We got a full house for you guys for June. So make sure you hit that subscribe and that bell notification so you don't miss not one thing that we have coming up for you for June. I want to say kings and queens up to the nation. Peace and love. Royalty rules. Respect, uplift, love, empower, and support one another. Until the next Numbers Matter. Peace.
Queens up in your hood because it's essential. Triple the investment, stocks and bonds, build a nest egg. Comfortable life. Seed safe at the rest place.